everyone, welcome to the Babbling Iron. So today it has been said from TalkSport that should West Ham be relegated, David Moyes will remain as West Ham manager. At this point, you think, what has the man got to do in which to even lose his job? But before we we delve into that, let's actually look at the quote itself from none other than Jim White on TalkSport. So as he says, he's been speaking to someone of authority at West Ham. We can probably draw some conclusions as to who that is. We know he is good friends with David Sullivan, so most likely that's come directly from the top. So he said there's a feeling that the feeling there, what is dominating their thoughts at this stage of the season is Premier League survival and winning Europa League Conference. Those are their targets. There is also the feeling that even if West Ham goes down, David Moyes will carry on. Now, obviously, we are still in the Premier League. We are still fighting to stay up. And obviously, we still have the ability in which to win a trophy with the Europa League Conference. But the point that even if we get relegated, we could remain with David Moyes, who will be in his final season, obviously on this 3-year contract in 2001, I believe. So 2003, 2004 would be the final season. Now, you can understand, or not understand, but you could start to see how David Sullivan will kind of position, if we were to get relegated, why we keep David Moyes. It will be the conversation that we have the best then manager in the Championship. We have someone who understands that league because he was there at Preston North End. This is a guy who's going to get us straight back. You know, we had a tough season, transitional year where things didn't go very well. But this is the man. He deserves the ability, the chance to bring us back up because of the shining light, which is the Conference League. If we say even go through into the next round and so on, there will always be excuses made as to why David Moyes is the best manager to remain. Ultimately, the reason being is because, one, they won't want to pay the compensation in which to get rid of him in his final season. Two, then they will have to go and find a new manager, new staff. So all of a sudden, the compensation package, you have to pay Moyes and his staff to leave. You then have to go and get a new manager, potentially have to pay compensation, something they've never done in their history. So again, they're going to be looking in the bargain basement for who's free. Likelihood is it's not going to be anyone of any real caliber. Therefore, David Moyes is a great choice because he still is caliber and therefore deserves the right. But what it completely ignores is when you look at the moment at the body language of the players, the way they walk around the pitch when they get instruction, the fact that they look despondent, the fact they look unmotivated, the kind of the shaking of the head. Now, obviously, tonight we might see a bit more of a motivated team. We don't know. We haven't played the game yet against AEK Lonica. But at this present time, basing it on the performance we saw at Brighton, the players don't look engaged. They don't look like they're playing for a manager that they're fighting for. It's just a bare minimum. Moyes himself keeps calling upon the fans to give more and to get behind the team. It seems like a last grasp kind of grab to divert attention away, to suggest that we as a fans need to do more. We need to be more supportive. We need to get behind them. And we need to be more supporting of him and the current plight. Now, this is West Ham in a transitional season, apparently. One where we've had quite a churn of players leaving and coming in. Next season, if we stay in the Premier League, going to be the same problem in terms of the level of player turnover we're going to have. If he goes into the Championship, he's going to be even bigger. So if Moyes has struggled this season with that number of players, kind of turnover, what's it going to be next season and even the following season? We also have the implications of the huge cost factor. And that's, again, why they're probably going to say Moyes is the best one to keep, because the huge amount of cost we're going to have to essentially suck up and try and bring back in player sales because we're going to get relegated and the loss of revenue. And if we don't come straight back up, it's going to be even bigger. So it's an incredible statement to make when, as a chairman, he potentially is in line to lose huge profits and huge value in his most valuable asset, which is West Ham. But what it kind of demonstrates as well is just negligence, a sheer level of contempt, I would suggest, for the fans, in that the fans are praying for something new. Obviously, there are a good say that would voice that they want change. Others that will also say, we'll stick with the manager. Look what sticking with the manager gets, and maybe pulling Arteta. But that diminishes then the quality of Arteta and what he has done to kind of essentially use that as a benchmark. The truth is, we've not seen, when you looked at, say, Arteta, for instance, if that was an argument, his team had a style, they had a philosophy. You could see he was trying to implement something, and he hadn't got all of his players in, hadn't got his chess pieces together. Moyes has been here for longer than Arteta. He's had time in which to mould the team, but we are lacking an identity. We're lacking a clear philosophy, and the players don't seem to be buying into it. So again, it just seems to be fundamentally ignoring the situation around David Moyes and the playing staff. And if we get relegated, granted, there will be new playing staff, but there's also going to probably have to be a reliance on youth players, and they haven't been trusted or tested either. So again, it seems to be ignoring everything around West Ham at the moment in favour of just saving a bit of money and keeping a relationship or a manager that, in effect, he's been able to operate with, because they are not necessarily calling him out in the press. We've seen Allardyce, he did call out and try and place some pressure on the board. He did things such as playing all the youth players in Nottingham Forest. So we got absolutely smashed to make a point about the depth of the squad not being good enough and needing more money to invest. You know, it's and also he did that to make a point to the fans who were calling for more youth. Again, it's just, Moyes isn't that kind of manager that's going to do that. He's pragmatic, he's safe, and that's it. It is a safe pair of hands. Someone that he views or he believes that can just keep the club steady for when he is ready to move himself. And in that case, I'm talking about Mr. Sullivan. It's just seems incredibly self-serving, negligent, and poor decision-making all round, and just essentially living in just essentially with blinkers on and ignoring all that's going on around in favour of just maintaining the club as it is, and then not really kind of pushing forward. I think if we do stick with Moyes and relegation, something again that they haven't really done in the past, you know, with Avram Grant, we're almost on par with that Avram Grant season. Avram Grant wasn't allowed on the coach after that game when we got relegated against Wigan. Now, if he's going to allow Moyes not only on the coach but then to manage in the following season, it just says that it's someone who's given up. It doesn't care. Just their only ambition is then really just see if we can get back into the Premier League, and then I'll sell up and go. You know, it doesn't sound like someone who's looking to push forward. You know, arguably, even if we won Europa Conference, based on the overall performances this year of the manager, based on the fact that we're going to see a similar churn of players coming next season, regardless of winning potentially his first trophy and our first trophy in since 1980, it's going to be potentially the same risk again. And if the players are not buying in this season, what makes anyone believe that they're going to buy in next season? And when he brings in new players, that they're going to be integrated in soon enough to do so. So it kind of feels at the moment Moyes is bulletproof. No matter what he does, this board have no inclination in which to make a change to try to be positive. It just looks like all they want to do is maintain as we are. It seems hope more than expectation of kind of staying in the Premier League, winning Europa Conference. And then if we go down to the Championship, it is just going to be framed as we have an elite manager for that level, and that we will come straight back up. Whether that be the case is another matter. I don't believe that will be the case if we were to be relegated and we maintain with Moyes. It's going to be much the same as we've seen this season. I think we really could struggle purely because of him not being able to integrate players quickly enough and well enough. I've said it previously, He is obviously a decent manager. He's proven that. But as a coach, I think he is poor. And this season, we've seen a team that has been in desperate need of being coached to be essentially be allowed to have input and to essentially foster a more collaborative team. And obviously then ethic in terms of, and also philosophy on the pitch. I think it's been very much dictatorial. We've seen certain players are clearly not happy, and it will continue next season. And there's nothing, you don't want a team that's on the floor with a manager who's basically been beaten down all season to then go into the next year and then he is the person to try and lift them off the ground. It just seems nonsensical, and it just seems a ridiculous point now that he seems to be bulletproof. So unless there is a change at board level, I don't see much changing at West Ham. It's a depressing kind of point. Love to be wrong, obviously, but at this stage, Moyes seems bulletproof, and unless we take a heavy loss probably in the next 2 Premier League games and go out in Europa Conference, I don't think that mindset is going to change on Moyes. So I think we're going to have to bunker ourselves in and kind of hunker down and get used to this idea that Moyes could be with us for the next year or so, should the likes of David Sullivan remain in control. Because again, it's just about now just plodding on through until they actually then decide to make that sale. Let's hope we're wrong, but there's no reason to believe otherwise based on what we've seen in the recent weeks with the support that Moyes has been getting, not only from sources within the club, obviously information being leaked to Jim White, and also Karen Brady's comments also talking about not being hire and fire. Although I believe in the time limit at West Ham, we've averaged a manager every 2 seasons. So again, it's not strictly true, but they've clearly found a man that they can conjure or they can work with, and someone that's not going to really kind of put them under pressure to do more. So yeah, sorry guys, it's not exactly the most uplifting one, not probably one that every fan is going to be happy with, but let us know your thoughts. Do you believe that if we get relegated, David Moyes should be the manager? Do you think he should be our manager now? Should we be looking to maybe, if the Villa game doesn't go well, to bring in a new manager to help us in the latter stages of the Europa Conference, to get us through and guide us through the league? And if you were to replace Moyes, who would you choose? So yeah, everyone, thanks for watching. If you do like this video, please do like, please do subscribe. It really helps us out. But in the meantime, let's hope we get the 3 points this evening against Larnaca. Sorry, 3 points. We get the win in the first leg against Larnaca, and then we can at least have something to be positive about and cheer about. But again, thanks everyone for watching. See you again soon.